People spend their whole lives dreaming of flying a sleek, sexy spaceship.
Well, she's not wrong. While I'll never have a chance to own my own spaceship in my lifetime, I can at least settle for having a multitude of ships in Starfield. When the game first released, I was most looking forward to both building my own ships and seeing all the different ship models already available in the game. The fact that they had different manufacturers and foundries was important to me for world building, with different companies having their own design and philosophy. But even with all the different ships and combinations that we had at launch, I wanted more. And that's where today's mod comes in, Starfield Fleet Expansion, which at its launch adds a total of 20 new ships to the game for purchase, modification, and they can even be found out in random encounters, meaning that you have a chance to come across a Crimson Fleet attack group flying a couple of these new designs. The mod aims to create ships that match the associated company and provide a varying mix of ship sizes, from nimble fighters to heavy gunships and massive cargo haulers. But one thing to note is that many of these ships, if not all of them, do make use of glitch building techniques. So modifying these ships may require you to do some glitch building of your own. But for the purposes of this video, I left all the ships as they were. That way I could show them to you the way that they'll appear when you download the mod for yourself. The only requirement in order to play Starfield Fleet Expansion is Ship Vendor Framework, which I believe will become a staple in many load orders from here on out. The vanilla game locks in ship vendors' inventories, so whatever ships they have the first time you load them is what they'll have for the rest of that save. This will reset each and every time you go through New Game Plus or every time you make a new character, but that's a lot just to reset their inventories. However, with Ship Vendor Framework, their offerings will change every week. So with both this and Starfield Fleet Expansion installed, you'll get a mix of vanilla ships and these new modded ships at each of the vendors. These new ships can easily be differentiated by their prefix, often a 2-letter abbreviation to denote what manufacturer's ship it is. For instance, DE for Damos, NG for Novag Galactic, and SE for Stroud Eklund. But there's also a couple of collaborative ships in the mix as well, with Damos and Hope Tech having contributed to ships such as the Tomahawk. Starfield Fleet Expansion does not add any new models or textures. It adds these 20 new ships exclusively from existing ship parts and HABs. If anything, I think it goes to show just how versatile this shipbuilding system can be, and how mod authors will be able to leverage it themselves. General ship merchants, such as the ones at New Atlantis or Aquila Trade Post, will sell ships from various companies, whereas going to the individual manufacturers' showrooms or star yards will guarantee more ships from that specific foundry. Damos in particular gets a few new ships added. The DE-24 Phobos comes with 2 different variants, the E and F subtypes, both of which make use of Type C reactors. But the E is a Damos and Hopetown collaboration suited best for armed deep space exploration, while the F is instead a more Damos-oriented construction, and instead serves as a heavy interceptor. Mind you, these ships' roles come from flavor text on the mod page. That being said, the 2 ships share design similarities, which helps in establishing their shared model name. One thing that I really love about the Phobos variants is the stacks of vertical engines. There's something about that look that I think works really well for this ship. As you'll see on the Phobos, but also on many of the other ships in the mod, is the use of the glitch building to hide necessary components, such as fuel tanks and reactors, fusing them into different structural components. That way you don't have as many of these components just sticking out from the sides. The DE-14 Ironclad is a heavily armored troop transport and dropship, once again sporting a Type C reactor, and making use of Ammon-Dunn parts as well. Like the Phobos, it comes in 2 variants, one more focused as an assault cruiser, the other meant as more of an armored carrier. The carrier variant in particular really gives me a container ship vibe. The Ironclad is absolutely massive. At the New Atlantis spaceport, it barely fits into landing zone, with the boarding ramp not even touching the ground. One of the new Damos ships that I really like is the UC-22A Dauntless, built in collaboration with Stroud Eklund Star Yards. There's something about it that reminds me at least a little bit of an old World War II fighter jet, and serves as a Type C troop transport and dropship. Given that Stroud Eklund has some of my favorite ship parts in the game, that could also be another reason why I like this one so much. They really stuck to Damos being this more military-focused company, with a lot of these ships feeling like proper warships, dropships, and troop carriers. Nova Galactic has a bit more of a mix in designs, but also takes on a few more collaborations with other manufacturers. The Thunderbolt serves as a Nova Galactic Stroud Eklund collab, serving as a light fighter and support ship with a B-class reactor. This is a smaller, short, and wide ship that I think stands out, especially given how many of the ships in this mod are really on the larger size. Nova Galactic and Slayton Aerospace teamed up to create the Marauder, a Class C light attack frigate. The NG Intruder is a light freighter, once again with a Type C reactor. A lot of the ships in the mod are really kitted out with max reactor power, turrets, and so on, meaning that using them yourself will make short work of a lot of enemy ships. But running into Crimson Fleet pirates making use of these ships might put you in a world of hurt. Like I said earlier, Stroud Eklund is personally one of my favorite shipbuilders in the game, and their new ships in this mod are no exception. The SE-14/F Spectre is a smaller interceptor-style ship, meant to be perfect for aspiring bounty hunters. With a Class B reactor, the Spectre is a bit on the smaller and more compact size than many of the ships across the mod. The SE NXT Mongoose is a prototype, which almost makes me wish it was a one-off ship you could find placed in the galaxy, rather than just being another ship that you can buy. The Mongoose is one of the ships where the clipping is much more noticeable, most evidently on the engines, which to me doesn't look particularly good having them with that much overlap. HopeTech and Damos came together to build the Tomahawk and Tomahawk 2, a heavy gunship that gives me big Pelican vibes from Halo. In this first release of the mod, HopeTech is really only represented by a couple of collaborative ships, so it'll be interesting to see what the mod team will do with the company in future updates. Taio, on the other hand, has quite a few ships under its belt in the launch version of this mod, really focusing in on that more signature, rounded look that the company is known for. The Katsuragi, I probably butchered that pronunciation, is intended as a patrol corvette, and even design-wise, it really looks like it could hold its own in a fight. The Mogami acts as an assault corvette, although I think the design would also work really well for an explorer or settler ship. And another one of my personal favorites from the mod is the TY-4G Sentinel, a Taio Nova Galactic build. Another heavily armed and armored Type C ship, serving as a blockade runner and heavy interceptor. This is a much more square ship in design, and I really like the slight asymmetry between the boarding hatch and the fuel tanks. This obviously isn't all of the 20 ships in the mod, mind you, but hopefully this gives you an idea of what to expect from the fleet expansion. I think some of these ship designs look like they could have been in the game at launch. A lot of them really fit the original designs and form factors of Starfield's base game ships. Others do stand out a bit more, but I think they still work within the universe. And if anything, they're great because they add a bit more variation in terms of ship design. The glitch building does look pretty good in most cases, but there's a few ships where the clipping is a lot more noticeable and doesn't look quite as good. But even some of the vanilla ships have glitched parts, and glitch building has become a very standard practice in the Starfield ship community. While the mod doesn't add new models, textures, or habs, I kinda wish it did, and I'd love to see them maybe add that in the future. On the mod page, you'll see custom decals on several of the ship's pictures, and I'd love to have that in the mod itself for a bit more of that custom flair when buying them, or even building them out ourselves. I think having new habs could go a long way to help some of these ships have their interiors match their stated function a bit more. Maybe having habs for the Damos ships that look a little bit more militaristic and Spartan, especially for the dropship-oriented builds. That being said, one of Starfield's recent updates finally gave us interior ship decoration, so I guess I could always do it myself. One last thing to note is that what we're seeing today is only version 1 of the fleet expansion, with the plan being to add a total of 100 ships over the course of their updates, and adding these ships as random spawns for the other factions, including Spacers, List, Galbank, and House Varun. In the future, I would love to see what the team could manage with some smaller, more compact ships, or maybe throw some Class A ships into the mix as well, in order to give early game players a chance to fool around with some of these new designs. Having some of these ships tuned to early gameplay would work really well balancing wise, especially if the ultimate goal is to have 100 new ships. With most of the ships in version 1 being maxed out for weapons, engines, and shield strength, they work really well for late game players, but I would love to see more that builds up to that point. And with Ship Vendor Framework, I think we'll see more mods like this moving forward. As I said early on in the video, something like this will likely be a mainstay in many people's load orders, as it's something that I wish Bethesda had included in the base game. I want to see ship vendors' inventories rotate in and out, whether it's to accommodate for vanilla ships or modded ones. So if anything, I know this is a mod that I'm going to keep installed from here on out. But that's going to be all for this time. As always, thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, check out the Patreon or the YouTube memberships, both of which get access to the Discord server. YouTube members also get access to the channel emotes, which can be used in the comments below. And make sure to check out the streams at twitch.tv/0periodproductions. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.